evening, cult members. Welcome to Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And this is going to be our reaction, review, discussion, spoiler-filled of part 5 of this Kenobi thing. It's called the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, but we all call it Kenobi.
Right.
Kenobi! It's Sam Witwer is forever linked to Kenobi just for that.
Yep.
And he's been amazing on Twitter, replying as Maul to the Star Wars official Twitter page, which has been on top of it the whole 3 months, the last 2 months actually. I have a ton of thoughts, and I'm going to do my very, very best to try to keep them in a cohesive, somewhat understanding point of view.
Okay.
With that being said, I love this episode. I love this series. How do you feel?
Yes. Yes. And
thanks for coming, everybody. That's our review.
This episode was rough. Just now I don't know how to feel about Reva.
Right.
I hated her. I hated her. I hated her. Aw.
Right. And I think I'm going to hate her again. Because she knows there's at least something important, and she has met Owen before on Tatooine.
Yeah.
Spoilers for the end of the conversation, but
well, yeah. And like I said, like I was saying, when the reveal happened that she was actually trying to get close enough to Anakin to, kill him, I guess, for what he did to the younglings in front of her.
And to her.
But she survived. Yeah. Like, what was her end game? Like, how did she think this was gonna end? Was she gonna sneak up on him in his sleep? Was she gonna poison his Banta tank? I mean,
right. Oh, I'm down for that. I want that side story now.
But he's going. She even said it. He'll know.
Yes.
So, what I don't understand what her end game was.
Her end game was to kill Anakin.
Right.
Her problem was that she was so blinded by furious, raging revenge that she didn't understand who Vader really is, and what he knows, and how much he knows, and how powerful he is. I don't think she knew that. I don't know. That's the dark side way, especially with the Inquisitors, is that you're so filled with rage or revenge or whatever, it corrupts you to be blinded by obvious power, obvious plays that goes on. The only one who's able to do it really is Palpatine, who is the one who is the ultimate manipulator in everything. And even he didn't foresee Luke not joining them.
Right.
And so you just get so blinded. The dark side gets so blinded by whatever it is, revenge, passion, feelings, whatever, regret, that I don't think she ever really comprehended any other scenario other than her being at his side and jumping him.
Yeah, but I mean, it didn't work. And she said it wasn't going to work, and it didn't work, and I don't know, and just the lengths that she was going to get close enough to him.
Yeah.
She was willing to torture a 10-year-old.
Yep.
It's like you're doing basically the exact same same thing that you're trying to kill him for.
And Ben pointed that out to her.
Yeah.
That you're just doing the same thing that he did.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I think she started to, I won't say they see the light at the end of the tunnel, but Ben got to her when he said that.
Yeah.
Like, it was an obvious, she paused and thought about it for the first time, I think, since she decided that this is what she was going to do.
Yeah, because she was just so focused and straight.
She was so blinded by revenge. The Grand Inquisitor, by the way, the Grand Inquisitor wasn't dead.
Oh, shocker.
Told you all, just be calm. We'll get into that in a second. But even he said, your revenge, you were blinded by your revenge, and that was useful. You were no longer useful.
Yeah.
And I just, that's just part of the why I wanted to talk about this episode so much. That's exactly what the dark side is.
Yeah.
You are so passionately blinded by whatever it is, passion, revenge, like I was saying earlier, that you miss it. You miss everything. You miss all the finite details. You miss, of course, of course, Vader made her Grand Inquisitor when it was the most opportune time.
Yeah.
It wasn't like she achieved it all of a sudden. Vader just said, "Oh, okay, now you could be here."
Yeah.
Because when this goes bad, because he is also, Vader is also driven by hatred and passion and everything of to Obi-Wan. Like, he understood where she was coming from and understood that he could use that to his advantage. And then he forgot the lesson that they're teaching the entire time, and the sparring thing was between Ben, or between Obi-Wan and Anakin, and Ben exploits that. It's just, I
and I would argue that the Jedis are just as bad for different reasons, or different. They're trying to make a quote unquote good outcome,
right.
But they sometimes tend to just do the thing they think they need to do and damn the consequences, like with Anakin, like when he was little.
Yes, and that's part of the fall of the Jedi Order.
Yeah,
is that they were so blinded by the idea of, there's no way this child is going to bring balance to the Force. Right. He's too old. We don't believe in prophecies. We no longer believe in prophecies because prophecies can be interpreted thousands of different ways.
Right.
And we as an order are so blinded by the destruction of the war that we lost track of who we actually were.
Yeah.
And that all the Jedi, who are supposed to be peacekeepers and negotiators and only use violence or force when they absolutely have no other choice, lost that path along the way. So they're just as culpable as the Sith are.
Yeah.
And specifically in this episode, Obi-Wan is just as culpable to what happened to Reva as Anakin is.
Right.
Anakin's the one who threw the hammer, but Obi-Wan was the one that told everybody not to come back to the temple.
Yeah.
Even though she was still alive, and then she had to go live on the streets, and all that rage built up in her. But she even asked him, "Where were you?" Well, he was getting his ass kicked like 7 systems away, or kicking Grievous's ass, and then everybody else was attacking him.
Right.
But
right.
So there's culpability on both sides, and when you are left to die, or you're left with no one, like Reva was,
right?
Like you're gonna direct that to whoever you think it was, and the last person she wants to direct it to, the last person in her head, was Anakin.
Yeah.
But by the end of this episode, she tried to go against Anakin, failed miserably.
Shocker.
And then now she comes to the realization that Ben left her out to dry to fight Anakin so they could all get away.
Yeah.
And so now she's going to have the same rage, the same passion, the same want on revenge for ruining her plan to Ben.
Right. Yeah.
I just, and that's, I am tired of having this conversation online that this show is not good. Like, they've been laying out lesson after lesson after lesson about A, being a man who's lost everything in Great Depression, B, the story, the responsibility that is Lucasfilm and Star Wars, telling that revenge is not the way, and we're stronger together. Like,
But zealot religions aren't the way either.
Zealot religions are it's like the the mechanized versus the natural, the the empire screwing everybody over for their own means, and
Yep.
like it's
Quote unquote good versus quote unquote evil, which I mean, this episode was a great encapsulation of that.
yeah,
You were convinced up until this point that Reva was evil, 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 pure evil,
yep.
and now she's not, and that's the same thing. It's like
The only
who's good, who's evil.
the only pure evil is Palpatine. He only wants more power. He only wants to get more power so he can get more power.
Right.
His whole process is about being strong in the Force so he could manipulate people, so he can become in the Senate, so he can get
right. But what I'm saying is everybody is the hero of their own story.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And so what is good, what is evil? It depends on which side you're standing on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and they show us that over and over again. Anakin is, oh, he's a little kid and he's so cute, but he turns into an evil person, because of, in his mind, good reasons. He was trying to protect Padme and his child, quote, children. He doesn't know that yet. But he, he did all the wrong things for the right reasons.
Yeah.
So, it's,
Yeah, I just really love that they laid a ton of stuff out in this episode in front of everybody and just said, here it is. And now we have a big setup for what the final is going to be.
Right.
The finale is going to be.
Yep.
Which it's not this. They're going to do more. Everybody wants to do more.
Yeah.
Deborah Chow, Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen, Lucasfilm, like everybody.
I mean, Ewan pretty much spilled it at Celebration.
Yeah. But everybody isn't loving this and loving being part of this again, and so I will not be surprised if the closing credits says, Obi-Wan Kenobi, not Ben Kenobi, Obi-Wan Kenobi will be back.
Yeah, because he's got another 9 years before.
And it's not a coincidence that they brought in the path.
Right.
That is a huge deal within the Star Wars universe at this time in the galaxy.
Yeah.
To just yada it as a plot device in a 6-episode series.
Right.
That's way too big of what's going on in the universe at this point.
Right. And Kamal
Gianni.
There you go.
I was trying to say it as I was belching, and it just said,
nice. I mean, he gave him 2 lightsabers.
Yeah.
So he can, I mean, he may be in the big finale, but, I could see him becoming a Jedi kind of, sort of in the future. Or helping with the path. I mean, he's already doing that, but kind of being more of what he was faking to be.
Yeah, and you don't bring somebody like Oj Jackson Jr. You don't bring somebody like that in and have him be broken in this great character for 3 episodes.
Yeah,
I just don't think you have somebody like that come in and play this character for 3 episodes.
Could definitely be part of the next generation or the continuing generation of the people helping the people across the
Actually,
path.
if you want to just do a show, like we're talking about the Mandoverse, you have Mandalorian and it kind of expanded out into different episodes, different things or whatever. If you want to do something called The Path and have it be the daily struggle of these characters trying to save Force-sensitive people around the galaxy, I'm actually here for that conversation, because a lot of what Lucasfilm is storytelling wise on the TV side is going much more in depth in what the galaxy was and why it was so important that certain things happen or how certain things happen. Kind of backfilling in stories. I don't like that. I like like the tip of the iceberg storytelling with the movies. You could have something like The Path and tell the ground level story of what it's like to be in this empire.
Yeah, you could do like a Boba Fett mini series
Yeah.
of, and each episode is a person, a family's struggle to get to the path.
Almost an anthology series where each episode is its own thing.
Yeah.
And you only have like 2 or 3 repeating characters.
Yeah.
Like
by the time they get there, it's the same
yeah.
character.
Lucasfilm, call us. We got ideas. we got things. Okay, let's talk
TM.
About,
I want to get paid.
We want to get paid. I'll just go hang out at Skywalker Ranch. So that's fly me there and then let me hang out. I want to be in the room with the High Republic. I just never mind. Okay. So let's talk about the lesson that's being taught throughout the episode between Obi-Wan and Anakin in their sparring session. When the episode starts, it's Coruscant, and everybody I've seen today said, "Oh my God, they're in Coruscant." And then the next shot you get is the Padme, the Padawan braid of Anakin with his back, and he's staring out across to Padme's suite.
Right.
And then
we saw him do that.
We saw them do that in both Attack of the Clones and Force Awakens and Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Revenge of the Sith, he's actually in Padme's suite.
Right. And it's like going back the other way.
Yeah, yeah.
He's staring out across the city. Yeah.
Yeah. So the fight is the avenue in which we get to reminded that this Anakin, this Padawan Anakin, this one who hasn't become master yet, who's not on the council yet, is super strong and super able as a fighter. But he hasn't learned the lesson that it's not about winning.
Right.
It's about the fight.
Right.
It's about control. And that lesson is taught over and over and over again to Anakin in the Clone Wars series.
But he doesn't learn.
But he doesn't learn. He tries to learn. More often than not, he jumps into the fight to win the fight or to do something so that they could get the upper hand. And Obi-Wan is always behind him saying, you need to be more controlled. You need to be more aware of what you're doing.
Right.
And then in the Brotherhood book that just came out, it's after Anakin becomes master, and he's not on the council yet. Obi-Wan's on the council. He's a temporary council member until the end of the book. Spoilers. It happens. You know it happens. But that book is about them being apart for the first time. And they both come to their own realization that they needed each other. One, to be the crazy, do something weird, whatever, that Anakin does. And the more kind of controlled, calculated kind of
version.
They
are the yin and the yang of each other.
And so if you take the Clone Wars animated series and this book and some of the other examples, and then you go back and you see this episode where Ben, I keep trying to separate between Ben and Obi-Wan because we're not back to Obi-Wan yet. We're close. But between Ben talking to Roken and Tala about he's going to come after me because he doesn't know how to be patient.
Right.
And then you go into the flashback.
Yep.
Where Anakin's being over aggressive and over leaning, and Anakin's doing to him what he does to Vader does to Reva later on in the fight, where she's trying to overreach and do all these things.
Yeah.
And it's so show don't tell storytelling that I love it. I love it.
Which I think is what some people just have a hard time with, which every time we get one of these shows where we're like, it's the show don't tell.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is horrible. Oh my God. Do you need to have it read to you, spoon-fed to you?
Yes.
But what I wanted to touch on, one of the kind of recaps or whatever from the last episode that we watched was talking about or it might have been a TikTok, whatever, the connection between Ben and Anakin in the bantha tank,
Yeah.
and kind of them. And when I saw that, I thought kind of what they were pointing out, that they were actually kind of connected and both feeling the same thing, or having the same flashback. And they do it again in this episode where they go to those flashback scenes of them having that duel, and then it showed Vader's face, or it showed Ben's face, like they're both remembering this lesson,
right, or attempted lesson,
right?
but yeah, I think there was a TikTok. I saw it too, and I I think it's a good reminder that although this show has been a lot about Reva, because we really love the character and we really like Moses Ingram and her portrayal of it, we hate her for all of the things that she has done. Although she is the main villain in the show, the main villain is the guilt that Obi-Wan has because of Anakin, and
Right.
having these kind of parallels of their time together, their time in the bantha tanks, that one is the extension of the other.
Yeah, it's their connection.
It's their connection.
They're connected, and you didn't probably get that as much in the prequels, like that understanding of how connected they were, which kind of sucks because then
Right.
it makes that final fight even more heart wrenching, right? That Anakin, or that Obi-Wan is standing on the hill, and anyway, but yeah, I mean, I feel like they're connected to each other and kind of remembering each other's memories, together memories,
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
It's not like the dyad that we get with the sequel trilogy between Rey and Kylo. It's not the same connection like that. These are two people who have
But
who
sort of. I mean, it's not the same because like they were literally in each other's like dreams, or seeing each other, talking to each other face to face. This is more of like, I take it more of like a force sensitive, but they're super force sensitive to each other because of all the time they spent together. It's the same thing, there's those force feelings. Ben has it when um uh I want to say Tatooine, and that's not it, blows up. um Alderaan, yeah, blows up, and he feels, it's as if millions of voices scream out. It's that same kind of, I can feel you. We're kind of having our thoughts are connected kind of thing. Not it's stepping into your.
And it's also, I mean, they were war buddies together too. So there's also that connectiveness of we fought side by side in war.
Yeah.
And so you have that level, and then you add the force on top of it, and you're like, oh, okay, whatever. So I just love that lesson. I love that uh, they just don't mess around. We're going to where they are at. We're not gonna like talk about it for 15 minutes. We're gonna be at the planet. Da da.
Yeah.
They make Reva the Grand Inquisitor for 5 minutes to use her again. Um. The 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 door conversation between Obi-Wan and Reva, where he kind of connects with her and she cuts the bolt, the actual like barricade down, and the retreat into the second level. I really love that. If you really watch it,
did she retreat or did he throw her?
Well, he throws her.
Okay,
but I'm talking about the path people retreating back to the second level.
Okay.
So if you really watch that scene, it's Obi-Wan pushes her back. The 501st. It's the 501st. Until I'm told differently, the 501st showed up to do that scene. But they all start firing into the gap, and Obi-Wan's in the middle, blocking a bunch of the shots. Now he's not blocking all of them because there's just too many shots.
Right.
But he is. We are 85% of the way to Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
Because even his outfit is much more of the Jedi robes, and the under, like the robe he had on had no sleeves and no hood today.
Yeah.
So he had the underclothes on in the previous episode. Now this one he's got the robe, but it's like just the
it's
just the the jerkin or whatever. I don't know, clothing.
The best robe.
Right. But he stands in the gap and defends, and then some of the other fighters have shields. They don't know how to hold their shields, but that's a me thing. That's a me thing. And they're all firing back, and they're taking casualties. And there's just so many of the 501st. It's not the 501st. I know it's stormtroopers. It's the 501st. Stop at me. But them going through the gap, there's just too many of them.
Yeah.
But it as they go along, Obi-Wan is the defensive shield for everybody.
Yeah.
And again, show don't tell storytelling. And when he decides to go to the gap, the second gap to close the door, to stand and defend so everybody else can flood in, that's when Tala gets hit.
Yeah.
That's when Ned gets hit.
Yeah.
And they have their sacrifice.
I had very, very K2SO feels for Ned.
I was everybody. It was everybody. It's just you're just gonna make.
I knew there had to be something. There had to be a comeback, right? Because he is in the opening scene with all the helmets,
and stuff,
and he's in there, and it's like, okay, he's got to play a bigger part than hanging out in the room where the doorway to the path is, right? So
I just like that. I liked Tala's character. Like, as much as I hate Reva, I've loved Tala.
Yeah.
And I like that she was an Imperial who chose to do the right thing, because a lot of people joined the Imperial Army because it was a job. And it was, get out
they
of
thought it was going to be one thing, and it turned out to be something very, very,
very different.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Ben, right?
Yeah.
He didn't have a choice.
Yeah. He was taken as a child.
But it's the same thing. It's people within the Empire, within the whole organization, that are like, this is wrong, and I'm gonna step up.
And and as much as I don't like her as much as I don't want her sacrifice to happen,
right,
it's the right sacrifice,
right.
If she does not sacrifice herself there, they storm through, and most of the people that are waiting to leave aren't capable or aren't able to go back against this fight.
Right. And can we talk about the fact that get on the ship? Why are you all standing around waiting for somebody to tell you to get on the ship? You should already be on the ship. Be on the ship and ready to go. It's all they gotta do is run across the thing and jump in the plane.
Get in the ship. Get in the ship. Obi-Wan, okay, we're outgunned, we're outmanned. We need to close all the doors and hunker ourselves in until we can get the big door open, because Lola, it screwed us because droids.
They don't know all that.
I
love how Leia's just kind of yada yada that. She kind of just what is this? Okay, and I need a light.
But that's
I mean, it's a robot toy. It's like, what is she gonna do? Scold it?
Right.
I mean,
right. And that's a very Leia thing to do too. Like, why are you being so weird? Oh, I see. Okay, I got something. I have something way more important to deal with right now than you being a jackass. Like, I just, and I love Leia too. Like, I need a ladder, and Roken's like, we don't have time for your childish games, and Ben's like,
no.
She needs a ladder.
She's the most adult 10-year-old you'll ever meet.
But I like that on the quest of Ben becoming Obi-Wan again, we got General Kenobi in this episode.
Yeah.
He made
executive decisions.
He made executive decisions. This is what we're doing. We're doing it right now, because a lot of the people on the path are just people. They're not warriors. They're not even the people that are there aren't Jedi. And so that, like,
they talked about that in the last episode.
Yeah, but they
warriors.
Need, like Tala and Roken are kind of holding it together.
Yeah.
But they're not the type of leadership that we need at this point in time for the path that you will need as people to do the rebel selves as we move forward, and then to the proper rebellion down the line. And but I just General Kenobi, like, we just he's here. I like the pause, like the pause of him thinking about it, like all right, well, this is what we're doing. Like, he just fell it back. It's when you the example I'm going to use, it's not going to count for any of you, but I'm going to use it for her. It's like when we took a break from the SCA and we went back. At SCA, we're part of a medieval reenactment group. We were part of the leadership for a while. We took a long break and we came back for a little bit, and we fell back into our taking charges at events.
It's muscle memory.
It's he's opened himself up. Ben's opened himself up enough to accept that this is what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even think about it anymore. He's just doing it.
Yeah.
That was him playing the shield and the
it's just muscle memory. It's just he is, you can compare it to, like a container with a wall inside of it, and there's, keeping stuff on its individual little sides, and he's been here and shut all that off over here, and now
somebody's slowly pulling that piece up, and
not that he wants it to, but he's like, oh, okay, I can sink or swim. I gotta figure this out, and so it's just muscle memory.
And he's gone from I can't help anyone,
right?
I can't do anything, to being the general to make out a battle plan to help save a huge amount of people.
Yeah, but he's been the reluctant voyager, right?
Yes, I was trying to find the right word.
Passenger, because he's been kind of passive. The reluctant, like he wouldn't have gotten there on his own. Obviously, he hadn't gotten there on his own for 10 years.
Right.
So, there had to be something to be the catalyst to push him back into.
Let's talk about the Vader final 10 minutes that we got. We got everybody on the transport. Vader storms down the hallway. The transport goes to take off, and Vader does on screen what we've seen from other people do, and we've seen Vader do in the books, but we've never actually seen it on screen. And he stops a ship from taking off.
Right.
Not a little ship, not an A-wing or something like that. Like a full-on transport full of maybe 300 people or whatever.
Badass.
And holds it in the air with one hand, not both hands.
Right.
Because Rey and Kylo do the whole both hands thing because they're fighting against each other or whatever. But with one hand, he pulls it back down to the ground and then just rips it apart with the Force.
Yeah.
And he's so back to the I'm so consumed with rage and revenge that I missed the whole point. The other transport's sitting right there, and it takes off as soon as the other one is. And so, Lords of the Sith is one of the first books that happened out of the Disney merger, Disney buy or whatever. And it's Palpatine puts them in a situation to kind of to make Anakin stronger, but also to kind of enforce his will onto Vader. And in this, Palpatine intentionally crashes them on not Kashyyyk, the Twi'lek home planet. I'll think of it in a minute. Anyways, in that battle, in that process, Vader pulls the ship down that's attacking them. It's Vader and Palpatine out in the woods, and Palpy's doing the whole, oh, I'm an old man, did I carry me? Whatever the whole time. And we all know that Palpatine can do whatever he wants, but he kind of pushes Vader into this rage, and he pulls his ship down out of the air. And so to see that here, after we saw it with Starkiller and the Force Unleashed game, and then we saw it in The Rise of Skywalker, to see the guy who actually properly did it the first way, like it was just so cool. Like I just loved it. I just love that we get, the more content we get with Vader, the more we actually get to physically see the horror that is him.
Yeah, and I think I talked about that last week or the week before, that by the time we get him in the OG
Ryloth, told you I remember.
in the OG movies, that he's an old man, or I mean,
he's a broken man.
Yeah,
way broken.
I mean, if you think about it, he's really not that old, but he's gone through some poo, so his body is just
early to mid 40s by the time we get to A New Hope.
Yeah,
but he's also been on fire and lost a few limbs.
Yeah, and so he's at the end of his strength,
Yeah.
Whereas, and probably hasn't had to use it too much. So you just don't. And it was the original movies, and I
I
think they
I
were trying to make
I
them as PG as possible.
I
So
I I, I I totally get the behind the scenes reasoning for all of it,
yeah,
but I like the in universe canon that he's just kind of fallen apart over the years because he is not whole, and he
yeah, and
really
he
he's
doesn't
got to spend every night in the bat tank, and
right, and
so
he
it's
doesn't have to. There's some point where your your mythos has just become so big
yeah, oh, yeah.
that you don't have to prove it anymore because people
Him
are
just
like, "Oh my
walking in the
god,
hallway at the beginning of New Hope
yeah,
is all the, and him holding up Captain Antilles is
yeah,
like it
yeah,
breaks your brain when you see that, and
yeah,"
so
and but he got that uh, terrifying or whatever because of all the stuff he did when he was younger that we get to see now.
yes. So the fight with him and Reva, I like her trying to sneak up on him, and then he just force blocks.
Again, where did you think that was going?
Again, fueled by rage. But him just like blocking the lightsaber, and then her doing some moves, and him just like kind of sliding out of the way
Yeah,
and moving out of the way and whatever, and
or
then
force stopping the blade with his hand,
pushing her back, and then
yeah,
they have a fight, and he stops her, and she ignites the second blade, and then they go through an exchange, and he keeps doing the whole he kicks her ass with no lightsaber.
yeah,
He didn't even pull out his own lightsaber. He takes hers, takes it apart, gives her one half, and says, "Okay, now try to beat me." And then he beats the piss out of her again,
yeah,
and then the I like the back and forth of Reva, the little girl, and then Reva as the adult, watching Anakin slash Vader come in and stab her in the chest.
yeah,
Now that fight, um, I love the physical difference between Vader and his very mechanical, blocky moving that he has because he's mechanical and blocky, compared to Anakin and Obi-Wan's fight, which is very fluid and
hmm
spins and flips.
yeah,
Again, show don't tell storytelling. There's a physical difference between the two,
right, because
and I
he's more machine than man at
think
this point.
that's
And you also saw, this was really good acting. You saw Reva go from, this like hard ass, like she has no emotion that you've seen for, all the previous episodes to you could see the little girl in her
yeah,
face.
yeah,
When she was like down on the ground looking up at him.
and I just again I just love that whole sequence, the way it's blocked, the way it's shot, because there's a couple different times where they're really close and intimate with each other, and Vader's just like, no, eh,
Yeah.
hmm. And she's on full rage
Yeah.
swinging,
He's like, la la la.
yeah, and then uh her getting stabbed in the stomach again. uh I want to talk about that for a second because the actual Grand Inquisitor shows up. I told you he wasn't dead. We all knew he wasn't dead. But um, lightsabers are built to cauterize.
Right.
The Jedi use them specifically to try to, at 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 the very least, if we have to get into a proper fight, I want to try to cut off your arm so you can't. You
Right.
still have a chance to redeem yourself, but now you stop trying to kill me with it.
Right.
Like they're meant to do that. So her getting stabbed in the belly, we've known people who've been stabbed in the belly, they don't die instantly.
Right.
And so if you add the idea of a lightsaber through a belly and it's cauterized, yes, she's going to need to heal, and there's going to be some issue with that, but she's not going to die from that. Most of the time, when you get stabbed in the belly, you die from blood loss
Or sepsis.
or sepsis, or you hit something major on the way in. But if you're going to get hit somewhere other than the shoulder, the belly is probably the best place to get hit. People are like, oh, why is she not dead? Well, why is not the Grand Inquisitor dead? Because he got stabbed in one of his two stomachs, because they all have two, so he's minus a gallbladder. Things just go faster now.
Right. I don't have a gallbladder either. It's
but
fine.
but but that idea, I think, is lost a lot of times in lightsaber fights, is that the blades are built to cauterize when
Right.
they make contact.
Right. Luke lost his hands. I mean,
So did Vader.
and
So,
so did,
like,
yeah,
yeah.
you could easily
Anakin,
die
sorry.
of blood loss from that, but
Yeah.
but they didn't. So
Yeah, I just really liked that her character, who has been so important, so vital to Vader's plan to get to Obi-Wan, is not just, okay, you're no longer useful, you're dead, go away. Like, there's still story to tell with her,
right,
and there's still.
and I don't think they wanted to kill her because otherwise they would have just cut her head off.
I think a lot of people thought that she was unredeemable, and that Vader would have ultimately killed her. But the death that Vader and the Grand Inquisitor give her is not the death, but
right.
the "you're back where we found you in the gutter."
Right.
And they make a point of saying,
right,
we're going to leave you where we found you in the gutter.
in the gutter,
and so
got stabbed with a lightsaber,
which is a fate worse than death to Reva.
right. Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
And so I just, with that kind of concept and that kind of idea behind it, I think it's good. I think it's great to leave this character open. So when they do season 2, she's still going to be on the revenge tour for Ben, but I think there's going to be an opportunity for her to maybe not redeem herself, but come back towards the light.
Well, she's got to do something with that information that she just got.
Right.
So,
and we have one episode left. You have the Vader Obi-Wan fight, not the Anakin Ben,
right,
whatever. Right. You have the Vader Obi-Wan fight that's coming. We know we have to have that ultimately to happen. But you also have this: what happens with the path? What happens with that? Reva has this information about the child on Tatooine. Luke is not named, but Owen is, and so you have that kind of hanging there. And the message was from Bail Organa, so you have the implications of what that means for the Senate. And
I mean, I don't know that you can tell that was from Bail Organa.
No, but I mean, they've deduced more with less in Star Wars, so maybe. It's. But there's a lot of. I'm not gonna say plot threads that need to be wrapped up, because I don't think this is the end.
Right.
And I think some people in the process are going to say, no way the show is going to be able to wrap everything up in one episode when they've only been 40 to 45 minutes at the most. And so it's got to have to be a 2-hour episode to wrap all this stuff, because we're not going to get any more. We're going to get more. It's going to happen.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I think that conversation needs to be had all over the place. What else are we missing? I think we got everything on the big stuff.
I think our episode has been longer than the actual episode.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. But like I said, there was a lot of stuff to digest and discuss because of greater implications within the Star Wars universe and the fandom as a whole. And so we had to get into it. So that is our thoughts, discussion, and boy, all kinds of discussion about part 5 of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Please let us know what you thought of this episode and our discussion about it in the comments down below. Please be nice. That's a requirement around here. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and follow us on all the social media stuff: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. One more to go. And until next time, cult members, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Force be with you always.